Have an idea you'd like to test in your business? My favorite way to test out an idea for a course or a program is with an online workshop. Because let's be real, if your audience isn't paying for a low ticket workshop, they're definitely not going to pay for a full course. So let's test your course or program idea so that you can feel confident when you launch. Paid workshops can also be great as a standalone offer, a way to solidify trust with your audience, and also, of course, to test an idea. My group program, Create a Workshop That Converts, is being remastered as a self-paced program. Join me as we walk through how to conduct market research, skillfully design your paid workshop, write your sales page, plan your launch, and so much more. You'll get everything you need to launch your paid workshop, plus some amazing new bonuses like how to increase your launch revenue, create social media content more quickly, and more. Join the waitlist to get an exclusive discount, plus take advantage of a limited time offer that will only be available to those on the waitlist. Click the link in the show notes to join.
Has this happened to you? You sign up for someone's lead magnet only to be majorly disappointed by what you receive. It's not a great way to start your relationship with that business. Let's talk about what separates the good lead magnets from the bad so you can impress new subscribers and leave them wanting more in a good way.
Being an online business owner is full of ups and downs. Some days you can't imagine going back to your 9-to-5, and other days you want to burn your whole business to the ground. We get it.
Welcome to Chaos to Conversions, a podcast of practical, no BS strategies to grow your online business. Each week, we're chatting about launching, copywriting, mindset, and more, so you can make sense of the chaos and do more of what works.
Join the conversation and let's grow together.
Welcome back to Chaos to Conversions. I remember a few years ago, someone was advertising this business calculator, like Opt-in, and it was supposed to help you track your expenses and like your profit margin and all that. So I signed up for it, and it was this like single Excel sheet with basically 3 boxes in it: income, expenses, and profit. And that was it. That was like the whole calculator. So it was majorly disappointing because it basically used like the sum formula or something of that sort inside Excel. And like, that was all. I could have done that on my own. It was, in my opinion, very bad. I will never forget downloading that, even though it was several years ago at this point, because it was so disappointing. It was not as advertised. And I don't know, to me, it was like the worst thing I'd ever downloaded. Obviously, I immediately unsubscribed from that person, and I can't even remember what her name is now because that's how much I was like, nope, I don't care to hear anything more. And you might say, well, Branda, it was free. It's not that big of a deal. But it was more than that, because that was the beginning of my relationship with this person. And for me to get something that was falsely advertised and extremely basic, it just felt like a grab at my email address. So sure, this might sound dramatic. It probably is. My point is that your lead magnet can make or break the start of your relationship with a customer. And you want to impress this new person, and you want to deliver on the promise that you've made to them. So let's talk about good versus bad lead magnets. Also, I should preface this episode by saying that for whatever reason, lead magnet is like a very hard word for me to say. So I may swap to just using the word opt-in. Okay, let's start with the bad. What are the things that make up a bad opt-in? P.S. When I say bad, I don't necessarily mean that your lead magnet is like a literal dumpster fire. It might actually be a great opt-in, but maybe it could use some tweaking. Maybe there are some things that you could do to make it better, or there might be something you could do to make subscribers more excited to actually download this opt-in. So the first thing I would say that makes up a bad lead magnet is a lack of uniqueness. I want to clarify by saying I don't think everything in your business needs to be this novel idea that no one has ever heard of before. That's just impossible. You would spend ages trying to find an opt-in that is one of a kind, right? But hopefully it has some of your unique spin on it, and it is relevant to your business and your perspective. And I think, to me, that is what makes it unique and special to you. This kind of goes along with my second point here of something that makes a bad opt-in. But I also don't think that opt-ins should be something that could easily be found on Google with like a one-word search, right? Like the opt-in that I downloaded, I could have easily searched profit and loss calculator or profit margin calculator and gotten a website for that. It should be something that is a little bit more in depth. And a lot of the information that you do put in your opt-in may be found on Google, but hopefully with your opt-in, you're kind of culminating and bringing a lot of the information together. So it still wouldn't be easily found, right? Like someone would have to listen to a whole YouTube video or several blogs or something like that to find the information. And again, hopefully it has a unique spin on it. So even if they did find similar information on Google, it's not your exact perspective. Another thing that I believe makes a lead magnet bad is that it doesn't position you as an expert. These people are just getting introduced to you or getting familiar with your brand. And so you do want to come across as a knowledgeable person, which again, I think goes back to the easily found on Google part. If they're downloading it and it's kind of like, this was really basic, this didn't fulfill what you said I was going to learn here, this didn't really show me anything interesting or new, that may not position you as an expert. I know, again, this also depends on the type of lead magnet that you're creating. Not every lead magnet is going to be knowledge-based. Some of them might be a coupon code, or it might be a sample of a product. And that is going to be different, right? Those things are not necessarily going to position you as an expert. So I'm kind of talking more about those that are a bit more educational, like maybe downloading a PDF with information or a guide, maybe a private podcast, something like that. The next thing that I think makes a bad lead magnet is if it's thrown together. And this can apply to anything, whether it be an educational lead magnet, a coupon, et cetera, et cetera. Thrown together means that maybe it seems sloppy, maybe it doesn't seem well put together, maybe it doesn't really look like they put a lot of effort into it. This doesn't mean that you have to create this like totally graphic designed PDF or hire someone to do this extremely unique quiz that has like amazing pictures and whatever, I don't know. It thrown together just means that you can tell there was little thought behind it. And of course, we're all going to have a different interpretation of that. But I think taking a little bit of time to create something nice looking in Canva, or taking a little bit of time to just make sure that your opt-in page for the coupon code that they download looks nice, that it's branded, that maybe it has a picture of you on it. It doesn't look sloppy. The last thing that makes a bad lead magnet, and again, this one is going to apply to any type of lead magnet, is if it doesn't connect with your current offers. I have seen this a lot with the clients that I've worked with who will come to me and they're like, I have 50 different lead magnets, especially for you teachers out there or former teachers who sell to teachers. We love a good freebie. Teachers love freebies. And so those people tend to have a lot of them. It's a good thing to go back and evaluate over time, though, if those freebies still connect to your current offers. And there's a couple ways that there could be a disconnect. It might be a disconnect in the niche or grade level or audience. So let's say I have, I'll use one of mine as an example. I have a lead magnet that is a content planner, and it's still relevant to my business, but I really have been promoting less of my content planning offers because they just weren't big sellers for me, not as much as my welcome sequences and my retainer stuff. So I really pivoted to talk about those a lot less. And so therefore, I've kind of just dropped that lead magnet for now. Maybe in the future, if I decide to do something with content planning again, I can bring that back. But for now, it's really just not relevant to what I'm talking about a lot on my email list and what I'm offering in my business. So I'm going to let that go. So evaluating those different things, because you want to make sure you bring on the right fit people to your email list. Okay, let's talk about the things that make a really good lead magnet. What makes a lead magnet stand out? So the first thing I would say is that it delivers on what was promised. That means that when you write your landing page or your inline form or whatever that might be, and you're advertising that opt-in, whatever you say there that you're going to be able to help someone do, that should be what your opt-in actually does. So again, going back to the example I used of the opt-in I downloaded that I was just like, what the hell was this? The girl promised that it was going to be a place for you to track expenses, and then determine your profit margin. And it had nowhere in there anything about tracking expenses. It just had a box for you to put in your expenses. That is very different, right? Being able to actually have a whole page, for example, of me write down all my business expenses would have delivered on that promise, but it didn't. So the importance of that is, again, this is one of your first exposures to someone. And if you can't fulfill your promise on a very basic, free downloadable, is that a word? We're going to pretend it is. Then how can they trust you to deliver your promise when you're asking them to pay money for your offer? Okay. The second thing is that it goes beyond the surface. And we touched on this a little bit. And what makes something bad is that it shouldn't just be something easily Googleable. I don't know what I said the first time. Googleable. Okay. It shouldn't just be easily Googleable. It should go beyond the surface and it should offer something a little bit deeper. So for example, one of my lead magnets, and it's one that I hope you grab because I go a lot more in depth on what I'm talking about in this episode, but it is it's called Bomb AF Lead Magnets. Basically talking, how can you create a really amazing lead magnet experience, including the funnel that goes on behind it. And you can look up information about lead magnets. You can get on Google and find that kind of stuff. I'm talking about that stuff in the podcast right now. Clearly, that information is out there. But inside that lead magnet, I'm going beyond the surface and I'm giving examples of things. I'm giving checklists. I'm giving tons of different resources. Like I'm diving deep in beyond just, hey, this is what makes a good lead magnet. I'm talking about how you can promote it, giving examples of that, talking about the welcome sequence, giving examples of that, like all these different things in there. So that's what I mean by it goes beyond the surface. Again, not every opt-in is going to be educational. Some of your opt-ins may also be quizzes, giveaways, I don't know, whatever it might be. So that may not apply to your specific opt-in. And again, with this one, number 3, shows off your expertise. This may not apply to every single opt-in out there, but you do want to show off your expertise in something, especially, hopefully, if you're going to be pitching an offer down the line, whether that be a paid product or resource or some sort of service. Just like we talked about delivering on what's promised, because if we can fulfill our promise for the free thing, they can trust us to fulfill it with a paid thing. If we can show off our expertise with something that's free, imagine the expertise we can get them if it's paid. And again, that can go along with services or products. Expertise doesn't just mean your knowledge about something, but your experience and your ability to create something too, right? Not just actually do a physical thing. So if you're a product person, you sell digital products, expertise is still a part of that. Okay, the next thing that makes a good lead magnet is that it introduces your brand. So at the beginning of your opt-in, hopefully you do talk about your brand in there. And a lot of this will also go into your welcome sequence, which I'll talk about in a second. So let's say you do have a coupon code that someone is signing up for a quiz that they're going through. They may not get an introduction to your brand necessarily inside the opt-in, but there might be some branding involved, right? Maybe you have some pictures of you on the landing page. Maybe you're using your branding colors. That's also a small introduction to your brand. But if you are doing something a little more in depth, like a private podcast, a PDF, some sort of like downloadable guide to something, I would suggest that you include a little bit of about you information and talk about some of the things that you do. All right, moving on. The next one is that it's intentional and aligned with your offers. Every time that you're creating an opt-in or a lead magnet, or you're deciding if one is going to stay in your current library of opt-ins, you want to make sure that it is intentional and it is aligned. Intentional meaning that you're not just willy-nilly creating opt-ins just to have something for free. There should be a why behind every single opt-in that you create. It's not about collecting them all when it comes to opt-ins. It's about making sure that they're going to attract the right people to your list. So think about, okay, what is the purpose behind this? Is there an offer that I want to lead to? Am I trying to attract a certain person to my audience? What am I doing? And then also, is it aligned with your offers? So we don't want to have a lead magnet that if someone comes in, they're never going to see the other half of that. Does that make sense? So let's say I bring someone in and I'm talking about, I don't know, like a checklist of things you can promote on Pinterest. products and blogs and blah, 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 blah. But then when they get into my email list, I'm talking about email marketing, right? That if I don't have an offer that somehow connects to the opt-in, like where is Pinterest in my brand? Is that a part of my offers? Am I doing something with Pinterest, or, am I selling templates? Am I doing coaching and strategy? Or is that like totally left field for me? Okay, the last thing is that you want your lead magnet to be valuable and useful. Ultimately, this is what it comes down to. And this kind of really wraps up in a bow everything we've been talking about here. If you have a really solid lead magnet that is delivering on what it's promised, goes beyond the surface, shows off your expertise, introduces your brand, all of those things, and people are walking away with a new piece of knowledge, with something that they wanted, with a quick win, whatever it might be that you've promised, and it's valuable for them, that really puts your business in such a great place. It builds a positive reputation for you and your business. It creates a lot of trust and credibility for you. And when in the future you continue to nurture them and pitch offers and products to them, they are in a much better place to want to invest in the things that you have to sell because of that solid foundation you set with your lead magnet. Okay, so we just talked about what makes a good versus a bad opt-in. I now want to go a little bit beyond the opt-in itself and talk about some other components that a really great lead magnet has. And I talk more in depth inside of my free resource, the Bomb AF lead magnets, which you can download in the show notes. These are some of the things I talk about inside, but I want to give you a quick overview here. So another thing that a great lead magnet is going to have is, of course, a welcome sequence. We've talked a lot about welcome sequences before, but essentially this should have at least, I would say, 4 emails that's introducing them to your brand, giving them some sort of quick win they can walk away with, talking about other places that they can connect with you, learn from you, and then also some sort of offer. If you want some more information, definitely grab that freebie. I walk you through a sample kind of outline of a welcome sequence inside of that freebie. You also want to make sure you have a really solid landing page. I think this is something that can easily be looked over because you think, oh, well, just a landing page, like people just want to download the stuff, but you are kind of selling it to them in this landing page. So you do want to make sure that you're giving accurate information, but also enough information that it makes them want to download. If you're noticing that you're not getting a lot of downloads on a particular lead magnet, it may be the opt-in itself needs to be updated, but it also could be that your landing page needs to be updated a little bit. So consider including a picture, maybe a video of what they're going to find, some information about what they're going to get. Again, even if it is a quiz or they're just grabbing a coupon code, what exactly is the code for? Like, make sure you mention important details. People are more, quote unquote, stingy with their email addresses nowadays. And I think we all know why, because we don't want to be bombarded with emails. We just want people that we really care to hear from inside our inbox. So give them a reason to download. The last thing to think about with your opt-in is an appealing format. I get asked this a lot, which is, what is the best format for an opt-in? Truly, that's hard to say. There really isn't one format. And I think also a lot of times we want to like modernize things because we're like, oh, PDFs, they're so outdated. No one wants to download a PDF anymore. My best-selling freebie, not best-selling, my most downloaded freebie, the one I'm actually talking about in today's episode, it has performed the best for me for the last 2 years. And it is a PDF, but it has a lot of really great information in there. It's really easy and quick to consume. Whereas I also have a private podcast, which hasn't performed as well for me that I thought it was going to. So I was like, a private podcast, that's cool, right? Who wouldn't want to do that? But it actually hasn't done as well as I thought. And I've thought about converting it into a different format. So you may have to play around with the format a little bit. It may be that your audience in particular likes a certain type of format. It may just be that for certain content, they need a particular format. I hope that difference makes sense. If you want to dive in more into lead magnets, I hope you download my free guide, Creating a Bomb AF Lead Magnet. Inside, I'll share some lead magnet ideas, talk again about what makes a good versus a bad lead magnet, give you some steps that you need to take to actually create your lead magnet and really create the whole funnel with the welcome sequence as well, and where to promote and advertise your opt-in without paying a penny. You can grab that inside the show notes. Thanks so much for joining the conversation today. If you want to learn more about how we can work together on email marketing, launch copy, or content planning, head to therelevantcollective.com. I'll meet you back here next Tuesday for more practical strategies to take your business from chaos to conversions.